I've recently really leaned into when people say you're cringe, like taking that almost as a compliment. Because I feel like most of the time when we say someone is cringe, it's a projection that they're doing something that we wish. It's not about the person that you say is cringe. It's about you, because they're doing something that you're like, who do you think you are to do that? And so what I come back to is I don't want to live my life confined in a box that other people put me in. And if I stay in that box, I won't be cringe. People won't be like, who does she think she is? All of those comments that people make. But that would be for me a failed life because I haven't lived my life for you and for myself. I haven't lived my life for myself. And I'm also living my life to fit a mold that everyone else makes of me, or I think that they expect of me, instead of the life that I want to live and who I am, and going deep into that. And so I think right now, even though I did have reservations of, how long do I go into this? I don't want to talk too much. I still think that if someone were to say, first of all, I'm on a podcast. Like, guys, if I'm not talking, this would be a really hard interview for Liv. If I just sat here and if I just gave you 4-word answers, you'd be like, cool. So that's number one. But number two, it's like if someone's listening to this and being like, oh, Laura talks too much, she's cringe, I would get that person to go in and ask, why are you projecting that onto, like, what makes you feel that? Because often it's not about me, it's about the person and something that's coming up for them.
When you first started out, I'm sure you didn't feel that way though, because same. How did you grapple with, wanting to be authentic and be yourself online, and then not getting criticized for everything?
First few years at least of being online, I was not myself. I think I was trying to work out who I was, and that's pretty hard to do online when everyone is watching you. So I think the first few years I was definitely trying to fit into, especially with my connection to the modeling industry. I remember the day that I took that out of my bio, because I'd stopped doing, because I think with my Instagram, I used to think, my Instagram is a portfolio. I have to look really good, and if I don't look perfect, then I won't get booked, because a client might see me from a different angle and realize that, she's actually not good enough. She doesn't look good enough for us to book this job. And I think that was also fueled the fire, some fuel went on the fire through a few experiences I had with modelling, where I was literally booked for a job, shot the job, and then I saw the campaign come out, which I would have been so excited. It's 2 memories I have about, and it was someone else.
Really?
Yeah, it happened a few times. And for me, I was like, I know how much that shoot day cost them. Obviously, they have hair and makeup. They booked me. They had the photographer, the videographer, etc. And the photos were so bad that they had to go and reshoot the entire thing.
Well, you don't know that for a fact, though.
I know now. I was like, I need to find out. And I didn't fit. But that was based on, whoever that person was. Yeah. I didn't fit their idea, and it was with my body, the size of my body, of what they wanted their brand to look like in market.
That is awful.
Yeah, it was. But I think because at that time I cared a lot about the way that I looked, and I thought that was 90% of my worth and value to society. And so I think because of that really rocked me. And then I became super hyper vigilant on it on social media, thinking like, I can't show myself in any other angle, because imagine if the same thing happens. And I remember it was like I had this light bulb moment of like, from a modeling perspective, this does not serve me anymore. I value so many other things about myself and about others around me that have nothing to do with the way that my body looks. And so for me, it was important to kind of move away from it, so then I could stop correlating all of that value to the size of my body, because it's completely irrelevant, and it is honestly the least important thing and interesting thing about me and about all of us. So in that period, I definitely was being a different person online, for sure. And then from there, like I remember even back, and I've spoken about this before in using Facetune. So Facetune is like a editing app. I don't judge people who use it at all, because I think we all have reasons, you know, we all have our insecurities and like each to their own. But I do find it very problematic, especially with some of the filters it has in there. It like tells you that you can make your face better and you can have a perfect face and a perfect body. That again, it just kind of goes back to that thing that you're not good enough the way that you are. But I remember I used to always feel super uncomfortable about my arms. Like every photo I'd look at it's the first thing I went to. I was like, my arms don't look good in this photo, which as I'm saying this, like it sounds so silly, but at the time that really made a difference to me and how I felt in my confidence. And I would edit them. And I stopped editing it. And it took me a little bit of time, but then because every time it was like it was feeding this insecurity that I had to change them and it looked better when I edited it. But as soon as I stopped editing it, it took a little bit of time to kind of get over that. But then I stopped noticing it because I wasn't fixated that like I have to edit this photo. It's not good enough the way that it is. And then I started just sharing stuff of me, like without makeup or whatever, without a filter or whatever it might be in my body in angles that I was like, oh, I don't look flattering in that way. And nothing happened. Like no one cared. People actually said like, thank you for sharing this because I also feel this pressure, you know, to look perfect or to hold up these standards that society puts on us. And so I think from that point, that was a few years in, I then felt way more kind of empowered to be myself and show up as myself.
You do such a great job at that. Was that around the time that you started Kik or was it earlier?
Yeah, so it was, thank you. That means a lot, Liv, especially coming from you. So I really appreciate it.
That like literally I remember when I started following you, that was why. Because I was like, oh, wow, I can't believe how in a world that then I think you were ahead of your time in sharing real content, you know, real raw, unfiltered content. Because back then it was all about it. Instagram was like a portfolio. Yeah. Not just for people who were models, but for everyone. It was like you have to get that picture perfect Instagram shot, and no one was really sharing, you know, selfies without makeup or, you know, unfiltered skin or anything like that. And yeah, I think you were really pushing the boundaries in a great way then, and you've continued to do it, and it's been awesome to see. But yeah, it's inspiring that you started when people weren't doing that.
Oh, well, thank you. And I'm so glad it has changed. And we were definitely, I was not the first one to do it, like in no way. But I just think it was just getting frustrated of being like, this isn't me. And then just the feeling of acceptance when you put something out there and you think all of this. It's like anxiety, right? Have you seen Inside Out 2?
No, I haven't yet.
You have to see it.
Really?
So for anyone that's like, what is it? It is it's not a cartoon movie, it's an animated movie.
Animation, yeah.
I don't usually watch animations. And I also don't like olden day films. I usually I don't like Bridgerton. I like things set past like 1995 and then I'll watch it otherwise.
Good to know.
Yeah, anyway. So I just want to set the scene for how good this movie is for someone that doesn't usually like animations. Okay. Or olden day films, which is kind of irrelevant. But anyway, I'm quite picky.
You're really stuck on that.
Anyway, so this movie is basically so Inside Out 1 is about this girl called Riley, and she grows from a baby to about 11 or 12 years old, and it's all the emotions in her brain. So it's basically the whole movie is all of the characters are the emotions within her. Then the second part, Inside Out 2, is when Riley is 12 and your emotions change. You get new emotions like embarrassment, anxiety, and some other ones. And anxiety was so interesting to watch it. Like I felt a bit like, oh God, this is like too much of I felt like I could see my own brain on the screen.
Like it's been written about you.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people that have anxiety will probably relate to it. But just in how your brain thinks, there's this scene where they're all in this kind of back room and they're all these little beans, and the anxiety person is like, or the character is like, everyone, you need to put forward to me all of the worst things that could happen so we can prepare for them. Oh. And there was like hundreds of, and it was preparing for this hockey game. It was like all of these things that could go wrong, essentially, like hundreds and hundreds of ideas of things that could go wrong. And the anxiety emotion was so sure that the reason that they were doing that was to protect the girl and protect her from failure. And as I was watching it, it just made me think, because I'm a really big planner and I think through things in a lot of detail. But I think sometimes I get that my anxiety gets caught in that. And I think that I am like preparing myself when really I'm just catastrophizing about, 100 different things could go wrong. Because then it's like, well, what if it doesn't go wrong? And what if it goes right? And what if something magical comes? And I think that's what happened when I shared that. And because I'm always conscious of talking to this, because I know for a lot of people listening, they might be like, well, I don't have a platform where I could, share an unfiltered photo of myself. But there's lots of different areas in your life that you can put yourself out there. If you face your fears, and now I'm thinking about this fear in the way that my body looks doesn't matter to me. It seems insignificant, but at the time that was in my mind, that was what mattered to me. And so in putting that out there, it was like, I thought all of this stuff would go wrong and nothing happens. Like that is so, and that kind of was a big lesson in facing fears, in that all of these horrible things could happen, but what if they don't?
Thanks for listening to Tell Me More. This show wouldn't be possible without you. If you'd like to show your support, please subscribe or follow the podcast on your favourite platforms, and don't forget, you can watch full episodes on YouTube and Spotify.